good afternoon or morning or night, wherever you're watching me from. Hi guys, it's Drea here. Today is incredibly overcast, so I have got the weirdest lighting setup going on that you have ever seen. You guys aren't seeing it, but I'm looking at it. It's looking a little bit cray-cray. So if this lighting looks weirder than you're used to, just keep that in mind. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is permanent palettes. I own a lot of palettes. I would say probably about the majority, like 60%, is limited edition palettes and the rest are permanent. So I tend to go for more flashy things, for more new things, for more exciting things when it comes to eyeshadow. That's why I own a lot of limited edition palettes, but I do have quite a few favorite permanent ones. I really wanted to kind of talk to you about this topic today because if you are not a makeup hoarder or a makeup collector in more polite terms, or a makeup enthusiast or whatever, you know, label you want to put on it, you probably don't own a crazy amount of palettes. I own a crazy amount of palettes. Permanent palettes come in many different shapes, sizes, colors, formulations, you know, they're all over the board. But I think a common theme through many of them is that they're usually more geared towards the everyday. They tend to lean a little bit more neutral in most cases. You know, they're more for like the everyday woman as opposed to the everyday makeup hoarder. Let's start out with a classic. This is Urban Decay's Naked One palette. The packaging is this velvety texture. It has a mirror. It comes with a brush. There's a reason that this is a classic, and it's because it has pretty much everything you could want. If you had to own one palette, this would be an amazing, amazing palette to own because you have just the range of colors that you need. It's all very neutral, but at the same time, there are some beautiful like lid shades that are very metallic. The formulation on Urban Decay shadows, in my opinion, has always been very consistently high quality. They blend really well. They're really easy to blend. They're very pigmented. The metallic lid shades like actually pop. They don't lose that pigmentation when you actually apply them to your eyelid like a lot of palettes do, or a lot of single shadows for that matter. This palette has an absolutely perfect pair of like transition crease shades, which are Naked and Buck. I do use this a lot and I do love those two shades a lot. Then you have some really nice brow bone highlights, or you could also use like Sin as a lid shade. It's a very popular lid shade. These are all very classic shades. Toasted is absolutely beautiful. And then of course, if you want a more smoky eye, you can go up here to these deeper shades. So this is just a really standout, everyday, neutral, perfect palette. If you were only going to get one, I would say go for this one. It just has a nice mix of mattes, shimmers. These two up here do have a little bit of glitter in them, but it's not overly crazy. This palette doesn't have, in my experience, any fallout really, and you can use many of these shades wet and dry. A lot of permanent palettes are very similar to one another. A lot of the time they have a very similar vibe going on and they don't really stand out for one reason or another. This one, however, stands out because it is an all matte palette. So this is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. Kat Von D is, I have two favorite formulations of shadows. I'll get to another one in a second, but Kat Von D, whenever I use Kat Von D shadows across the board, they are pigmented, they are blendable, they are just such a joy to use. They're just easy to use. And this is no exception. Like this palette here is, it's just perfect. So it's all matte. I love the organization of this palette. Other companies, I've noticed, It Cosmetics, have started copying this layout, and there's a reason it's such a good layout. So this is your neutral quad right here, this is your cool tone right here, and this is your warm right here. Of course you can mix and match and do whatever you like, but it makes it very simple if you just want an easy look and you don't want to have to think about it. If you're in a real rush in the morning and you don't want to have to worry about what should I pair with what, just stick to a quad. You'll get a beautiful eye look every time. It's just a no-brainer. The thing about Kat Von D shadows is they do kick up powder. So make sure you tap off your brush before you apply it to your lid. Otherwise you might experience fallout, you might experience too much pigment all at once. So that is the only thing to know when going into Kat Von D shadows, but in my, like, that doesn't bother me at all. Powder kick up is one of those things I could care less about. I really just look for blendability and pigmentation, and that is absolutely what you're gonna get from this. I'm not a huge fan of the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes. I know a lot of people are, a lot of people love them. If you love them, I'm really glad. I really am. I'm glad that you love your purchase. But for me, I bought the original chocolate bar and I don't know what it was. Every single time I tried to use it, I just kept getting like the most muddy looks. I could never get something, I don't know. It was just like a whole bunch of brown on my eye. And so I was not a fan. And so when the chocolate bonbons palette came out, it took me a long time to even want to swatch it in the store. I was really like, just like, no, I don't want to deal with another chocolate bar palette. I didn't have a good experience the first time, but I'm really glad that I did, because this has quickly become one of my absolutely favorite palettes. This palette, first of all, everybody knows they smell like chocolate, okay? That's not such a big deal, except that it is just a pleasant little extra when you're doing your eyeshadow to have that scent kind of waft up at you every once in a while. So besides that, the packaging is really, really pretty on this. So you got your mirror, it says chocolate bonbons right there, and then you have all these shadows. I don't want to blind you, but I just want you to see like the really cute hearts. Like, it's so pretty, right? So you have an excellent, excellent mix of mattes and shimmers in this palette. It is like so perfectly planned. The transition shades, there are this, I would say this tends to lean a little bit more cool tone, but there are some warm tones in here as well. But it definitely does have kind of a more cool tone vibe than the other chocolate bar palettes, I think. So you have a lot of really pretty, like, nice browns. And if you just wanted to do those on your eyes, have at it. Like, that'll look beautiful. But then you also have these pretty pink shimmers, like right here, right here. I have used this one. A lot of people tend not to use this because it's totally like, it's totally fetch. That's the name of it. It's totally like vibrant. So yeah, the colors, just so you know, may not be coming across because it's so overcast. Oh, it's raining now. So overcast today, but trust me, that is a very vibrant pink. You also have this really beautiful, like, deep purple, and it has a little bit of shimmer in it. It's almost like, oh, like, look at it, it's so pretty. Anyway, I'm gonna get carried away talking about the colors I love. It's just a really beautiful mix. And again, you have like this gorgeous shade right here, which is Satin Sheets, which could be like all over the lid, or it could also be a brow bone highlight, and Divinity as well is just a perfect matte brow bone highlight. It's also really good when you're setting your eye primer to use as a base, and I love that they give you a little bit more of this one because that's going to get used probably more than anything else in this palette. So all in all, look at this packaging, it's so beautiful. All in all, this palette is such, I couldn't be more thrilled with it. I really couldn't. I love this. I love using this. When I bust this out, it takes a lot for me to put it back. I want to keep using it every day, and I kind of have to force myself to put it to the side to use other things in my collection. Well, if you've been around in the last couple weeks, you probably came into this video expecting to see this, and I'm not going to disappoint you because this has immediately become a favorite. Like this, if I hit pan on one of these, or if one of them breaks, or if something happens to this, I will immediately the next day go out and repurchase it. Like, that is how much I am loving this palette. So this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I love Anastasia eyeshadow formula. So Kat Von D and Anastasia are my top favorite eyeshadow formulas. I love this formula. Kat Von D, I think, tends to run a little bit more on the dry side, and these tend to be a little bit more buttery overall, but they are kind of similar. Like, you will find that this one tends to do that same thing where it kicks up some powder, but the pigmentation is there, the blendability is there. The thing about this one is the blendability is better than any other Anastasia eyeshadows that I've ever seen. So I think they even improved this formula for this palette. So this is their first permanent palette. I am a huge fan of the World Traveler palette, but that was limited edition last year. It's difficult to get your hands on it. If you can, go get it. It's amazing. But you know, it's not easily attainable. So I was so happy when they came out with a permanent palette. I thought it was just the right thing for them to do as a brand, as a company. Okay, enough like gushing. This palette is not going to be for everyone. So it is obviously extremely warm toned, and it might be intimidating to some people because of the very, very bright colors in it. You have this really bright orange, you have the bright red and pinks. Like, that might be a little bit too much for people. But just keep in mind that there is so much neutral everydayness going on in this. And if you just want like nice, warm, neutral looks, and you want it to be easy and simple and blendable and have that pigmentation, you don't have to spend a lot of time blending it out, building it up, this palette is gonna be really, really good for that. But at the same time, if you do like experimenting and going for some bolder looks, you have these options. It's really nice, beautiful cypress umber. Like, look at how dark and pretty that chocolate brown is. It's, look, that's one swipe, you guys. Look at that pigmentation, that is insane. The other really cool thing about Anastasia is this brush that comes with all her palettes. This is actually a really useful, very good brush. Whenever I use the World Traveler palette, I always use the brush. It's the exact same that comes with it. It's just so easy to use. This crease side does a really good job blending, and then this can be used under the lash line to smudge out, and it can also be used to put on your lid color. So it's actually a really useful brush. I like that they put it in there as a bonus. So my final favorite is from Milani, and I wanted to put in a drugstore option, but make no mistake, I'm not putting this in here just to give you a drugstore option. This is actually a really amazing palette, and I think stands up to any high-end eyeshadow. This is the Milani Everyday Eyes palette. Let me open it. So Everyday Eyes, and this is in O2 Bare Necessities. If you have to go to work every day and you can't get away with doing like crazy, bold, colorful, or, you know, smoky eye looks, and you just want like an everyday, this is an absolutely perfect palette. This is gonna be good for like the everyday woman. This is gonna be great for beginners. This brush though, no, this brush is pretty useless as well. But anyway, let's just get to what's important in the eyeshadows. I love that this is so affordable. Okay, first of all, it's $9.99 in the States. In Canada, it's around $13 or so. Again, you have beautiful transition shade. Buttery, perfect, love it. You have beautiful, this is so soft, you guys. Like, you would touch this and think you were touching Urban Decay shadows. These are like, oh, the beautiful metallic shades in there. Look at that, that is Drugstore. Hello. This gold is just very distracting. Very, very beautiful champagne shade here. And then I am so happy that you get a nice dark matte brown, because everybody needs a nice dark matte brown. Look at that swatch. That's just one swipe. Like, can you even? They hit it out of the park with this. When I was kind of looking through my collection doing this video in preparation, I wasn't even sure if these were permanent, and I had to look it up online, and they are. So I'm ecstatic about that. I think that is just so great for like the everyday woman. If you are just somebody who likes to stick to a drugstore budget, or that just is your budget, it's nice that more and more companies are just trying more with their formulas to get it like to that level where you can do so much and it can look so beautiful, and it can stand up to high-end eyeshadows, and you don't have to go spend, you know, a premium for a high-end eyeshadow to get a beautiful look. You can get it from the drugstore now, which is amazing. Maybe you are a beginner and you're just not sure where to start. I think any one of these would be an amazing start for a beginner. I think even though this one here is not as neutral, and it does have some more pops of color in it, it's still so blendable and so easy to use that it would be great. This one, very, very similar idea, blendable, easy to use, but it does have pops of color. And then this is just a classic, like I said, for anybody. You can get so many different looks out of it. And then this one, of course, is a little bit more of a niche if you just want like those absolutely neutrals and you want it to be all matte. The other thing I forgot to mention with this one is this is great to just have for when you are using like single shadows and you just need something to use in your crease or your brow bone, it's great to have a palette like this on hand to use with all of those shades. And of course, now that we're at the end of this video, the rain has stopped, the sun has come out, and all is nice in the world again. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So that's my top 5 permanent palettes. Again, I don't own every permanent palette in the world. I'm sure there are lots of others out there that are incredible. So if you have a favorite, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching today. And if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do that. Just click the subscribe button on your way out, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Love you guys. Bye. My hair is just, it's at that point where I need to do something. This is not cute. This is a lot of stopping and starting today, apparently. Wait a minute, is that right? They predicted rain and then they didn't, and then they took it back and then they gave us, blah, blah. Okay, I probably needed a makeup wipe. You know, if you work at somewhere, duh, I'm a normal person. Okay. There's gonna be bloopers in this one. I'm sure of it.